Every one of us, at some point in our lives, have heard someone advise, be humble. In fact, we ourselves might have passed on that same wisdom to others. Many times, however, this advice is offered simply as a survival tip. It's offered as a means to get an expected outcome out of a situation. But is there more to humility than that? Is being humble merely the act of lowering ourselves in the eyes of others so as to avoid the social consequences of this world? Or, like most principles, which are intangible in nature, is it a genuine transformation, a true metamorphosis of the self? If we're being honest with ourselves, we already know that it's the latter. Humility is indeed about a true self transformation rather than a way to deceive ourselves and others in order to receive an expected end from the world that surrounds us. In order to understand humility, it is then crucial to ask ourselves two very important questions. The first, how do we become humble? And the second question, who is the true judge of our humility? According to the dictionary, humility is the quality or condition of not being proud or arrogant, or having a modest opinion or estimate of one's own importance or rank. In other words, humility is the state of being where we have a modest and accurate opinion of our own importance in life. Now we have a choice. We can journey through life like many, pretending to be lower than how we actually perceive ourselves in our heart so as to not offend others. Or we can strive to learn true humility and be transformed into something completely different than what we are currently. We can be transformed into something sturdy, something real, something true. If humility is having a modest and accurate opinion of our own importance in life, then its antithesis, pride, is having a high and therefore inaccurate opinion of our own importance in life. As we can see, both humility and pride have to do with our perception of ourselves within a given hierarchy, whether this is expressed explicitly or understood implicitly. We're talking about hierarchies from as small as our perceived place in our family to something as grand as our place in the universe. So, the only way we become truly humble is through the conscious acceptance of our true place in a given hierarchy, and also accepting our rank and therefore importance in this hierarchy. For example, if I would like to modestly and therefore accurately evaluate my ranking amongst other football players in the world, I must first consciously and honestly accept that I am a football player by my craft and not simply by my own opinion of myself. And also accept that I am therefore in a group entitled football players and am evaluated by a power other than me and greater than me. The next question that arises is, which hierarchy or chain of command do we subscribe to? The Bible informs us that there currently exists two kingdoms in this world, on this earth. The first kingdom, often called the kingdom of heaven, is ruled by God, by Jesus, the creator of all things, the Almighty. The other kingdom, often called the world, is ruled by Lucifer, more readily known as Satan or the devil, who is a creation of God that rebelled against him and through lies and trickery has deceived us out of our God-given dominion of the earth. It is this same creation, this Satan, which means adversary, that now rules on earth. God, our Creator, instructs us through His Word to be separate from the other kingdom, because there are indeed two types of governments in existence currently. Satan, God's fallen creation, attempts, expertly so, to convince us that unlike what God tells us, that there is only one kingdom. Satan does this primarily through lies and the perversion of God's ideals by mixing in his own ways, while simultaneously concealing his own existence. In God's kingdom, the kingdom of heaven, everything is created for a purpose. And through humility, through the acceptance of who we truly are, our purpose, performed in love, will have us lead a life of eternal peace, love, and happiness. In Satan's kingdom, and the world, because he hasn't actually created anything, he simply corrupts God's ways by instilling in us a false humility, a pretense more focused on appearances, while in every other way he encourages pride, arrogance, and rising through the ranks by any means necessary. There is even a name for this principle of his. We call it survival of the fittest. God's kingdom is one of order. Satan's is one of disorder. God's motto is, "My will be done." Satan's motto is, "Do as you will." In God's kingdom, he is the obvious king that operates in plain view for all to see. In Satan's kingdom, he is the invisible ruler operating unseen. In fact, his whole governance depends on us not realizing that he is pulling the strings, hence the motto of his kingdom. In order to attain true humility, and therefore an accurate assessment of our true state and station in this life, it is imperative that we choose the kingdom of God as our standard, because it is the highest kingdom in existence. Satan's kingdom is inferior to God's because Satan's kingdom uses all of the principles and life forces of God's kingdom to operate, and his kingdom cannot function without the power of the universe's true ruler, God Almighty. To understand this better, let us return to our football analogy. Earlier, I wanted to know about my true ranking, true ability, and true importance among all the football players in the land. If I use statistics and information on all high school football players and below, I may find myself at the top of the list. If I use statistics and information on all college players and below, I may find myself at the top or near the top. However, it is not until I utilize the statistics and information on all National Football League players, which represents the best of the best, that I will receive a more accurate estimation of my true ranking, my true ability, and my true place in this hierarchy. This estimation will be made even more accurate if I compare myself against NFL players in all eras. You may realize by now that it is highly likely that as I move up the hierarchy of talent, ranking, and ability, that my perceived level of ability and rank as a football player will diminish. Essentially, I will realize that I likely have thought of myself higher than I actually am. My higher than actual ranking of myself is called pride. My realizing that I overestimated my ability, my rank, my place, and now understand that I am lower than I thought is called being humble. Because I attempted to evaluate myself and therefore exalt myself, even with seeming good intentions, I raised myself up to a place that was not in truth given to me, and therefore must be brought back down to my righteous place. That is why in Matthew 23, verse 12, Jesus tells us, "And whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted." Therefore, true humility only exists when we accept God's kingdom as our hierarchy. Humility then becomes something intangible, not an outward appearance of piety. It becomes a repentant heart posture that is evaluated by God and only fitting between us and God. Ironically, as we humble ourselves to God, the highest authority in existence, those of the world will call us arrogant and self-righteous, and will inevitably ask us in some form the same question that the Pharisees asked Jesus in Mark 11, verse 28. "By what authority do you these things? And who gave you this authority to do these things?" said the Pharisees to Jesus. Unbeknownst to them, they are absolutely correct in asking this question, because they are unwittingly acknowledging the truth that we, of the true humility, serve a completely different master, a completely different ruler than them entirely. As it says in the Bible in Matthew 6, verse 24, "No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other." Let us recap. Humility, or true humility, and we're only saying true because of the manner in which the world views humility, is the acceptance that we are created beings, made by God, the creator of all things. Humility is due only with regards to Him, His will, and His word. It is up to our Creator God to determine if we have properly acknowledged our place with regards to Him. As a result of this being our reality, acknowledging God, the King of another kingdom, a spiritual kingdom, while physically inhabiting an opposing kingdom, this world, we will feel out of place in the world, and we will be mistreated by it. Jesus, the King of the kingdom of heaven, our King, reminds us in John 15 verse 18 to 21. If the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love its own. Yet because you're not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. Remember the word that I said to you, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they kept my word, they will keep yours also. But all these things they will do to you for my name's sake, because they do not know him who sent me. Here lies a truth masked as a paradox. Humility in God presents as arrogance to those not of his kingdom.